The lake house I paid for was quietly taken by my parents for my bro. So I exposed the $259,400 truth and let the collapse hit exactly where it hurt most. My phone illuminates at precisely 9:05 a.m. The name Eleanor Brown glows on the screen like a warning flare. I take a sip of coffee, assuming it's another of my mother's passive-aggressive check-ins. The message reads, "We've changed the gate code and the locks at the lake house. Preston and his family need their private space free from your judgment." I set my mug down slowly, coffee sloshing over the rim. The liquid spreads across my kitchen counter, but I make no move to wipe it up. My fingers grip the phone with such force that my knuckles turn white. The initial stab of hurt lasts only seconds before a cold, analytical clarity takes its place. Private space, judgment, changed locks. The words arrange themselves like financial data points in my mind. This isn't impulsive, this is calculated. Before typing a response, I slide my laptop closer. My fingers, steady now, navigate to the emergency credit card statement, the one I keep available for Preston's occasional crises. There it is, a $5,500 charge from Boat and Marine Supply dated 3 days ago. Just great, I mutter. I open Instagram next, scrolling until I find Melissa's latest post, a sun-drenched photo of Preston standing proudly beside their new motorboat, his arm around my nephew. Her caption reads, "So proud of Preston for working so hard to protect this family legacy for our boys." Family legacy. The lake house that sits on the deed of the Brown Family Trust, while the mortgage lives exclusively in my name. I take another sip of coffee, now cold. The bitter taste matches the realization forming in my mind. This isn't a misunderstanding or a family squabble. This is coordinated theft, clear as the spreadsheets I analyze daily at work. I pick up my phone and type a single word in response, understood. Then I open my banking app and navigate to the automatic payment section. 6 years of $2,200 monthly payments, 72 transactions totaling $158,400, not counting property taxes, repairs, and Preston's endless emergencies. My finger hovers over the cancel automatic payment button for only a moment before I press it firmly. The confirmation screen appears. "Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring payment?" I tap yes without hesitation. 6 years earlier, I sat at a closing table, pen poised over mortgage documents. The memory rises unbidden, sharp in its clarity. "You know Preston's credit is struggling," my mother had said, tears welling in her eyes. "Do you want your nephews homeless? What kind of aunt would that make you?" My father stood beside her, arms crossed. His disappointment was a tangible weight in the room. He didn't speak, he rarely needed to. His silent judgment was always more effective than words. I had hesitated. The financial analyst in me screaming warnings about putting my name on a 30-year debt while the trust held the deed. But the daughter in me, the one desperate for a nod of approval, a moment of belonging, had signed anyway. "It'll just be temporary, Allie," Preston had promised. 2 years max, just until I get back on my feet. 6 years later, and Preston's financial irresponsibility remained the family's open secret, one I was expected to manage. I was the fixer, the responsible one. The walking checkbook who made the Brown family problems disappear with the stroke of a pen. Last Thanksgiving flashes through my mind. Aunt Claire cornered me in the kitchen while I rinsed cranberry sauce from serving platters. "Why is your name on the debt but the trust is on the deed?" she had asked, voice low enough that only I could hear. "It's fine, Aunt Claire." I had dismissed her concern with practiced ease. "It's all under control." She had given me that look, part pity, part frustration, before patting my shoulder and walking away. It wasn't under control. It never had been. The realization settles in my stomach like a stone. 2 days after my one-word text response, a certified letter arrives. I sign for it, thanking the postal worker. Inside is exactly what I expect, a default notice from First National Bank. The phone rings 20 minutes later. "Miss Brown? This is Thomas Reynolds from First National Bank's mortgage department. We've noticed your automatic payment didn't process this month." "Yes, that's correct," I reply, my voice calm and professional. The same tone I use in board meetings. "I've canceled the automatic payment." A pause. I can hear his confusion. "I see. Miss Brown, your payment history has been excellent for 6 years. Did you intend to make the payment another way?" "No, Mr. Reynolds. I intend to default." Another pause, longer this time. "Miss Brown, this will severely impact your excellent credit score. Perhaps we could discuss payment options or hardship programs if you're experiencing financial difficulties. I appreciate your concern, but I understand the consequences. Please continue with standard default procedures. I end the call and place the letter in a fresh file folder labeled Lake House. Then I pull out my personal credit report, adding it to the growing documentation. The stark reality of what I'm doing, the financial damage I'm inviting, should terrify me. Instead, I feel oddly liberated. My phone rings again as evening falls. Aunt Claire's name appears on the screen. I stare at it, throat tightening. She's the executor of my grandmother's will, the one person who saw through the family dynamics. I'll need her eventually, but not yet. Not until I've gathered every receipt, every transfer, every dollar I've poured into the Brown family sinkhole. I silence the call and set the phone face down on the counter. 6 years of fear, obligation, and guilt finally crystallizing into something harder. Something with edges sharp enough to cut through the tangle of family manipulation. I'll make contact with Aunt Claire, but on my terms. When I have everything I need to reclaim what's mine. A week later, the receipts pile higher on my dining room table with each passing evening. What began as a stack of paper has evolved into a meticulous case file against my own family. I organize each document chronologically, starting with the first mortgage payment from 6 years ago. I create a new spreadsheet, fingers flying across the keyboard with practiced precision. The data tells a story clearer than any family argument ever could. Column A, date. Column B, amount. Column C, category. Column D, recipient. The numbers grow with frightening speed. $158,400, I whisper, staring at the mortgage payment total. 6 years of my life, converted to a single cell on a spreadsheet. I add the property taxes next, $8,000 annually, paid faithfully every December for 6 years, $48,000 that protected a house. The repair receipts come next, $15,000 for the dock replacement after the storm 3 summers ago, $7,000 for the HVAC system last winter when Eleanor called in tears about my father's health and the cold. Last comes Preston's personal debts, $25,000 in various emergencies over the years. And now, the final insult, $5,500 for a boat engine purchased 3 days before they changed the locks. $259,400. The total sits at the bottom of my spreadsheet, a monument to my own blindness. My phone vibrates against the table. Preston's name flashes across the screen. I consider letting it ring through to voicemail, but anger pushes me to answer. Hello, Preston. Hey, Allie. His voice carries that familiar false cheer. Listen, I noticed you haven't made this month's mortgage payment yet. The bank called Dad. I'm aware. A beat of silence. So, are you going to fix that? Because Dad's really stressed about it. I glance at the spreadsheet glowing on my laptop screen. Preston, I'd like to discuss the $5,500 charge on the emergency card. Oh, that. His voice shifts, defensiveness creeping in. Yeah, the boat engine died. We needed a replacement. It's an emergency card, Preston, not a toy fund. Come on, Allie. The familiar edge enters his voice, the one that signals I've failed to follow the family script. You know what? I'm here taking care of Mom and Dad, preserving this house. You just sit in your apartment and judge everyone. It's just money, Allison. You make plenty. Stop being so meticulous. The word meticulous lands like a slap. I've heard it all my life. My precision with numbers framed as a character flaw rather than a strength. This conversation is over, I say, ending the call before he can respond. 20 minutes later, my mother calls. I consider ignoring it, but know she'll simply keep trying until I answer. Hello, Mom? Allison, your brother just called me very upset. Her voice carries that wounded tone that once would have gutted me. What's this about the boat engine? He spent $5,500 without permission on a non-emergency. Don't be so meticulous, Allison. He needs the boat. You're just focusing on the numbers. The numbers are rather significant, Mom. That's all it ever is with you. Numbers, not family. The call ends with her familiar, disappointed sigh. The one that used to send me scrambling to make amends. Today, it only strengthens my resolve. 3 days later, I drive to the lake house, not to confront them, not yet, but to retrieve the original HVAC installation bill I'd left in the desk drawer. The receipt in my records shows only my payment, not the itemized service that I need for my documentation. The spare key remains hidden in the fake rock by the side garden, just as it has since my childhood. Some things never change. I slip inside quietly, moving toward the office. Voices from the back porch drift through the open windows. Preston and my mother, glasses clinking as they enjoy the afternoon sunshine that my mortgage payments have secured. Who cares if she's upset? Preston's laugh carries through the house. She's our Allison trust fund. As long as the money hits, she can be as rigid as she wants. I know, honey, my mother's voice, softer but equally dismissive. Honestly, she doesn't really value family. She just values numbers. The drawer slides open silently. I grab the HVAC bill, fold it precisely, and tuck it into my jacket pocket. Neither of them notices as I slip back out the front door, locking it behind me. In my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, a strange calm descends. The hurt I expected doesn't materialize. Instead, a clarity I've never experienced before washes over me. This isn't a family dispute anymore, I whisper to my reflection in the rearview mirror. It's a financial analysis. The invitation to my father's 65th birthday party arrives the following week. Embossed cardstock featuring a golf course image and a request for an please reply. I place it beside my laptop, staring at it while my spreadsheet glows on the screen. Instead of responding, I save the spreadsheet to a USB drive and tuck it into my purse. Then I open my email and compose a new message. To claire.vance@gmail.com. Subject: urgent matter regarding the Brown family trust. Aunt Claire, I will be presenting a financial analysis of the trust at Dad's party. As the executor of Grandma's will, I believe you need to be there. I hit send without hesitation. The reply comes within minutes. I'll be there. We need to talk before then. Call me tomorrow. I slip the USB drive into my jacket pocket, feeling its weight like a weapon. The numbers don't lie. And neither will I. Not anymore. Later that evening, my phone buzzes 3 times in rapid succession. Eleanor's name flashes across the screen like warning lights. I consider ignoring the messages, but curiosity wins. I open them, mentally bracing myself. Why haven't you RSVP'd to your father's party? 20 seconds later, the bank called us about the mortgage. What on earth is going on, Allison? And finally, your father is devastated you're causing problems before his retirement. I place the phone screen down on my desk, a small smile playing at the corners of my mouth. The order of her priorities speaks volumes. The party comes first, then the money, and finally the emotional manipulation. Classic Eleanor Brown. My office phone rings. Not Eleanor this time, Richard. My father rarely calls directly, preferring to let my mother handle the women's business of family relationships. I answer with my professional voice. Allison Brown speaking. Allison. His voice holds the practiced disappointment I've heard since childhood. Whatever this is about, can't it wait until after my party? This is supposed to be a celebration. I twirl a pen between my fingers, focusing on the small motion to keep my voice steady. I'm afraid not, Dad. Some things can't wait. You've always been so meticulous about money. He sighs heavily. It's just money, Allison. Just money. $259,400 of just money. I'll see you at the party, I say, ending the call before he can respond. The next morning, I arrive early at Riverbank Coffee, a neutral location 20 minutes from both my apartment and Aunt Claire's house. I chose a table in the corner, away from other customers. My folder of evidence is placed neatly before me. The bell above the door jingles, and Claire steps inside, scanning the room until she spots me. Claire Vance has always been the anomaly in the Brown family. Practical, direct, and incapable of being manipulated by tears or silent treatment. My grandmother's only daughter. She inherited both her mother's clear-eyed judgment and her role as executor of the family will. She slides into the chair across from me, removing her sunglasses. I got your email. What's this about the trust? I open the folder, placing the most damning documents on top. I've been financing the lake house for 6 years. Mortgage, taxes, repairs, Preston's debts. I tap the boat engine receipt, including this latest purchase. Claire scans the documents, her expression darkening with each page she turns. When she reaches the Instagram post, she inhales sharply. Family legacy? Her voice trembles with barely controlled fury. Your grandmother never intended the trust to operate this way. I know that now. Claire's eyes, so similar to my father's but without the constant disappointment, meet mine. Richard has breached his fiduciary duty as trustee. Do you understand what that means? I shake my head slightly. It means he's legally required to manage the trust assets for the benefit of all beneficiaries, not just Preston. Using your money to pay for assets that only benefit your brother while excluding you from ownership? She taps the documents sharply. That's textbook financial exploitation. Something shifts inside me, a subtle realignment, like numbers finally balancing on a spreadsheet. As executor, Claire continues, I have both the authority and obligation to act. This isn't just immoral, it's illegal. The word illegal echoes in my mind. Not a family squabble, not an emotional misunderstanding. A legal violation with concrete remedies. What can we do? I ask. We can petition the court to remove Richard as trustee, force the sale of the lake house, and recover every penny you've put into it. Claire reaches across the table, covering my hand with hers. But, Allison, this will change everything. They won't forgive you. They never appreciated me in the first place, I reply, surprising myself with the clarity of the revelation. 3 days later, I'm reviewing quarterly projections when my assistant's voice comes through the intercom. Miss Brown? There's a Preston Brown causing a scene in the lobby. Security is asking what you'd like them to do. My heart rate spikes, but my voice remains steady. I'll be right down. The elevator doors open to reveal Preston standing in the center of the marble lobby, his face flushed red. Several colleagues have stopped to watch the spectacle. Security guards hover nearby, uncertain. There she is, Preston shouts when he spots me. You're trying to make my kids homeless. I step forward, maintaining a calm exterior despite the adrenaline coursing through me. Lower your voice, Preston. You think you're so perfect with your fancy job and your spreadsheets? He continues, gesturing wildly. But you're just a bitter, lonely woman trying to punish her family. I take another step closer, ensuring my voice carries to the gathered onlookers. You've lived rent-free for 6 years, while I paid a $2,200 mortgage. This isn't my problem to fix. It's a consequence of your choices. You bitch, he hisses, lunging forward. Security moves instantly, positioning themselves between us. Sir, you need to leave the premises. This isn't over, Preston shouts as they escort him toward the exit. You'll regret this. That evening, Claire meets me at her lawyer's office, trust documents in hand. The lawyer, a gray-haired woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense manner, reviews our evidence with methodical precision. The arrangement is textbook financial exploitation, she confirms, echoing Claire's earlier assessment. The breach of fiduciary duty gives us all the leverage we need. Claire nods firmly. Richard has violated his duty. As executor, I can petition for his removal and force the sale of the asset. And the recovery of funds? I ask. With this documentation, the lawyer taps my meticulously prepared spreadsheet. We can demand full reimbursement of the $259,400. For the first time in weeks, I allow myself to truly feel the anger I've been channeling into spreadsheets and documentation. I don't want reconciliation, I say, the words forming a declaration. I want restitution. Claire reaches for my hand, squeezing it tightly. What they've done isn't love. You deserve justice. Back in my apartment, I finalize the PowerPoint presentation for the birthday party. Each slide represents a piece of evidence, building an irrefutable case. The final slide displays the total, $259,400. I save the presentation to a USB drive and place it in my purse. My phone buzzes with a text from Claire. I'll be there. My lawyer is on standby. This ends now. I stare at the message, a sense of power replacing the familiar weight of obligation. For 6 years, I've been a reliable ATM, a silent enabler of my own exploitation. But numbers don't lie, and financial analysts don't forgive bad investments forever. The USB drive catches the light, a small object containing a grenade of truth. Richard's retirement party will be memorable, but not for the reasons he expects. For the first time in years, I sleep without dreams of disappointing my father. Tomorrow I'll disappoint him on purpose, and it feels like freedom. On the day of the celebration, the retirement party for Richard Brown sprawls across the country club's main hall like a performance, each actor hitting their marks with practiced precision. I stand at the entrance, the USB drive a cold weight in my clutch. My fingers trace its edges through the fabric as I scan the room. Preston dominates a circle near the bar, his laugh too loud, his gestures expansive. Dad's legacy is in good hands, he announces to nodding acquaintances. Family tradition matters. Across the room, Eleanor fusses with flower arrangements, periodically glancing toward the door. When she spots me, her eyes widen briefly before her face arranges itself into a welcoming smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Richard stands near the center of the room, accepting congratulations with rehearsed humility. 40 years at the firm, he reminds each well-wisher. Time to enjoy the lake house now. The lake house. My $259,400 investment. I make my way to a corner table, nodding at distant relatives who seem surprised by my appearance. For 30 minutes, I sip water and watch. Speeches begin. Colleagues praising Richard's dedication, friends recalling golf victories, Eleanor dabbing at tears that appear on cue. The tech person, a college student hired for the evening, stands by the projector. During a lull between speakers, I approach him. I have a quick presentation for the retiree, I say, passing him the USB drive. Standard PowerPoint. Can you cue it up after the speech? The young man nods, inserting the drive. Sure thing. I'll signal you when it's ready. Richard's eyes track the exchange, his smile freezing. He leans toward Eleanor, whispering urgently. She straightens, face tightening. Before we continue, Eleanor announces, interrupting the event coordinator, we have a special gift for Richard. The coordinator steps back, confused. Eleanor gestures to Preston, who strides confidently to the podium. He grips its edges, flashing his sales manager smile. Dad, we're all so proud of your career. This milestone belongs to our entire family. Preston's gaze fixes on me. And we especially want to thank my sister Allison for all her quiet contributions to our family legacy, always supporting behind the scenes, never seeking recognition. Murmurs of approval ripple through the room. The attempted preemptive strike is clever, framing my financial support as voluntary generosity before I can speak. Preston continues extolling my selflessness, his tone suggesting saintly sacrifice rather than systematic exploitation. I maintain a neutral expression, though heat crawls up my neck. When Preston finishes, polite applause fills the room. The tech student catches my eye and nods. The USB drive is loaded, the presentation is ready. I approach the podium, heels clicking against hardwood. Preston squeezes my shoulder as we pass, whispering, family first. Right, Allie? The microphone amplifies my steady breath as I face the assembled guests. Thank you, Preston. Since we're discussing legacy and contributions, I've prepared a visual aid. I nod to the tech student. Let's review the numbers. The first slide appears, Melissa's Instagram post, Preston standing proudly by the boat, caption about protecting family legacy projected 10 feet high. Gasps punctuate the sudden silence. My eyes find Aunt Claire in the second row. She gives me a grim, supportive nod. This post appeared 3 days after I received notice that the locks at the lake house had been changed. My voice remains professional, analytical. The same day, a $5,500 charge for a boat engine appeared on my emergency credit card. Richard pushes away from his table. This is inappropriate. Today is a celebration. Eleanor stands beside him, hands fluttering. Allison has always resented her brother's success. She's trying to ruin your retirement, Richard. Their desperate interruptions only confirm what I already knew. They never expected me to speak publicly. Their weapons were private, manipulation, whispered guilt, and family loyalty as a silencing tool. I click to the next slide. For the past 6 years, I've made monthly mortgage payments of $2,200 on the lake house. That's $158,400 total. Each number appears in clean black columns. Property taxes, $48,000. Repairs, $22,500. Preston's personal debts, $30,500. Eleanor clutches Richard's arm. It was a gift. You gave that to the family. The room stills, every eye moves between us, the family performance suddenly off script. A gift doesn't come with a 30-year mortgage in my name, Mom. My voice carries without effort. This was an investment, and I am calling the note. The final spreadsheet slide appears, $259,400. The total hangs in the air, undeniable. Aunt Claire stands. Richard, Eleanor, you should be ashamed. Her voice, authoritative from years as a trust attorney, commands attention. The Brown family trust holds the deed to the lake house while Allison holds all financial obligations. As both a financial and legal matter, This arrangement constitutes a breach of fiduciary duty. The legal terminology lands with precision. Guests shift uncomfortably. These aren't family squabbles anymore, these are potentially criminal acts. Preston pushes forward. You're destroying the family over money. His face flushed red. I meet his gaze. No. I'm refusing to be your personal bank. Aunt Claire steps beside me. As executor of your mother's will, Richard, I am petitioning the court to remove you as trustee based on this evidence. The lake house will be sold immediately. The power in the room shifts visibly. Eleanor's tears now fall without calculation. Richard's jaw clenches. Preston stands frozen, the family golden child suddenly tarnished in public view. I close the presentation and step away from the podium. 6 years of payments, of silent compliance, of being the family fixer, transformed in 15 minutes of truth. The cold anger that had driven me here begins to dissolve, replaced by something unfamiliar but welcome, the beginnings of freedom. The next day, my phone vibrates against the nightstand for the 4th time today. Eleanor's name flashes on the screen, and I let it ring through to voicemail. Seconds later, the notification appears. Allison, you've humiliated us completely. Your father can barely show his face at the golf club. How could you do this to your own family? Call me back immediately. I delete it without a second thought and return to organizing the documentation Claire's lawyer requested. The incident has followed a predictable pattern. Eleanor's voicemails cycle between tearful pleas and cold fury, each one more desperate than the last. The phone vibrates again, Richard this time. Rare for him to call directly. Do you want everyone knowing our private business? His voice carries that familiar disappointed tone, softened now with panic. You've made your point. Now fix this before it gets worse. I add his message to my notes, documenting each attempt at manipulation. Claire advised me to keep records of everything. They'll try every emotional angle, she warned. Don't engage until we're ready. 2 hours later, a text from Preston arrives. My boys are asking why we might have to move. Do you want your nephews to know their aunt made them homeless? Is that what you want, Allie? I place the phone face down on my desk and return to the spreadsheet, adding his text to the timeline. Their tactics are transparent now: fear, obligation, guilt. The same tools they've used my entire life. But numbers don't respond to emotional blackmail, and neither will I. 3 days after the party, the family's attorney sends a cease and desist letter, claiming defamation of character and malicious intent to damage family reputation. Claire forwards it to her lawyer, Jeffrey Harmon, who dismisses it with a single phone call. Frivolous and without merit, he tells me during our conference call. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation, and we have documented evidence for every claim. Claire adds, Eleanor has been telling extended family you're having a mental breakdown. She called your cousin Diane yesterday, claiming you're unstable and fixated on money. Let her, I say, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. The documentation speaks for itself. 2 weeks after the party, we face the first real challenge. The family's lawyer attempts to stall proceedings, claiming Preston had a verbal agreement with me and that my payments were intended as gifts to support the family legacy. Jeffrey Harmon simply slides the credit card statement across the conference table during our preliminary meeting. The $5,500 boat engine charge glares in bold print. Was this also a gift? He asks, voice calm but pointed. Because Miss Brown's signature isn't on this authorization. Or perhaps you'd like to explain to the court how an unauthorized charge on someone else's credit card constitutes a gift? The argument crumbles before it begins. 27 days after Richard's retirement party, we gather for the final settlement meeting. The setting isn't a public courtroom with observers, but the sterile conference room in Claire's lawyer's office. The large mahogany table forms a barrier between us. I sit beside Claire, both of us dressed in tailored suits, back straight, expressions neutral. Across from us, Richard, Eleanor, and Preston occupy their chairs like reluctant defendants. Their lawyer, a silver-haired man named Thomas Gentry, shuffles papers without making eye contact. The air conditioning hums in the silence while Jeffrey opens the meeting. Thank you for agreeing to this settlement discussion. He places a folder in front of him. The evidence of breach of fiduciary duty is clear and substantial. Eleanor opens her mouth, but Thomas Gentry places a warning hand on her arm. Jeffrey continues. The evidence presented at Mr. Brown's retirement party, the complete financial spreadsheet and supporting documentation, are now part of our official legal demand. He slides identical folders to each person at the table. These contain the non-negotiable terms of settlement. Richard flips through his copy, face growing paler with each page. Preston stares at the floor. Eleanor's hands tremble as she reaches for her water glass. My clients will agree to the terms to avoid further litigation, Thomas Gentry states after a brief consultation with Richard. His tone carries the resignation of someone who knows they've been outmaneuvered. For the record, Jeffrey says, removing his glasses, the lake house will be listed for sale by end of day tomorrow. The proceeds will first pay off the bank, liberating Miss Brown from the mortgage debt, and then fully reimburse her $259,400 for payments made. Eleanor's composure finally breaks. But where will Preston and the boys go? Her voice cracks, tears forming at the corners of her eyes, the same performance that compelled me to sign those mortgage papers 6 years ago. Jeffrey doesn't blink. That is no longer Miss Brown's concern. Claire nods silently beside me, her hand briefly touching mine under the table. I reach into my briefcase and remove a printed copy of the invoice for $259,400. Every payment meticulously documented, every manipulation accounted for. I place it in the center of the conference table, the final period at the end of a 6-year sentence. Without a word, I stand and walk toward the door, not looking back at the family that treated me like their personal bank. Their voices fade behind me. Eleanor sobs, Richard's heavy sigh, Preston's mumbled excuses. The hallway stretches before me, leading to elevators and the street beyond. Each step feels lighter than the last, not the weightlessness of forgiveness I have none to give today, but the solid gravity of justice, of finally standing on my own side. Claire catches up to me at the elevator. "You did it," she says simply. "We did it," I correct her. The doors slide open with a soft chime. "Where to now?" she asks as we step inside. I press the button for the lobby and watch the doors close on the past. Forward. The wire transfer notification chimes on my phone, $259,400, exactly what they owe me, to the penny. I watch the balance in my account jump and let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding for 6 years. 60 days after the legal settlement, the house sale is finally complete. I walk through my apartment, running my fingertips along the smooth countertop. The same space feels different now, truly mine, not just a place I occupy between family obligations. I open my phone settings and scroll through my blocked contacts: Eleanor Brown, Richard Brown, and Preston Brown, a family triptych preserved in digital amber. My phone chimes with a text notification from Aunt Claire. "The sale is complete. It's officially over." I type my response. The same word I sent to Eleanor that first day, but weighted differently now. "Understood. Thank you." After a moment's consideration, I open my social media app and post an update. Some people say closure is about forgiveness. For me, it was a wire transfer. Later that evening, I open my journal and write. I was the fixer for so long that I forgot what needed fixing most was my own boundaries. Fear kept me signing checks. Obligation kept me answering calls. Guilt kept me believing I deserved the burden. The fog has lifted. I see clearly now. My worth isn't measured in mortgage payments or family approval. The following weekend, Aunt Claire and I meet for dinner at Marcello's, the small Italian place my grandmother loved. To liberation. Claire raises her wine glass. The overhead lights catch in the deep red liquid, casting small prisms on the white tablecloth. "I couldn't have done it without you," I tell her, clinking my glass against hers. "Oh, I think you would have figured it out eventually." She sets down her glass. "Your grandmother would be proud of you, standing up for yourself. She never intended the trust to become a weapon." Claire reaches into her purse and pulls out a small velvet box. I wanted to wait until everything was truly finished. Inside sits my grandmother's vintage gold watch, its delicate hands still keeping perfect time after 60 years. "She always said this would be yours someday." Claire fastens it around my wrist. A legacy should be earned, not stolen. The metal feels cool against my skin, a weight that anchors rather than burdens. 3 days later, Sarah from accounting approaches my desk, hesitation in her eyes. "Do you have a minute? I need some advice." Over coffee, she confides about her brother's temporary loan that's stretching into years, her parents' insistence that family helps family. I listen. I offer resources, names of financial counselors, books on healthy boundaries, but I don't offer to fix it. You're the only one who can decide what your boundaries are, I tell her. Just remember that enabling isn't the same as helping. That night, my phone rings with an unknown number. My finger hovers over the decline button, but something makes me answer. Allison? My mother's voice, coming through a friend's phone. Baby? Your father is a wreck. Preston is on a waiting list for an apartment. Her voice breaks, that familiar tremor designed to pierce my resolve. You've won. You have the money. Can't you just help us? Just a little? You've always been our fixer. I close my eyes, feeling the weight of my grandmother's watch on my wrist. No, I'm a financial analyst, Mom, and my analysis showed it was a bad investment. I've liquidated my position. Goodbye. I block the new number before setting the phone down. The final metaphorical lock slides into place. Standing at my window, watching the city lights below, I don't feel the weightlessness I expected. I feel something better. Gravity. The solid, grounded certainty that I am finally standing on my own side. When people ask, but that's your family, I just nod. Yes. Just as a cage is still a home if you've never known anything else. But I stepped outside. And the air out here doesn't demand I prove my worth.